Welcome, welcome, welcome. Hit that like button as you come in. Hit that like button as you come in. Definitely share the live. Share the live. And subscribe to the channel. All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Happy Monday. Thank you for all who are here. I see y'all in the chat heavy already. I appreciate the love. I really, really do. And for the fellas that are here, thank you guys so much for being here. I really appreciate you being here. We are back. It's Monday night. We back with the Wedding Vow series. We got the actual King Smith in the building.
What up? What up? What up?
We got Mr. Harris, half of the Harris tribe. Thank you so much for being here, sir.
Thank you for
Art
having me.
Payne, thank you so much for being here and supporting as always. I really appreciate you. And then we have James from Dating to Marriage Support, half of the Lady Di Dating to Marriage Support. So I appreciate you for being here. Thank you so much. I believe Hank is going to be joining us as well. So we'll keep an eye out for him. But we're gonna start the live. Thank you guys again for being in the chat. I'll highlight some of your comments soon. Just to let you guys know, tonight is sponsored by JECreativehosting.com. If you guys need a website, you need someone to host that website for you, definitely check them out. There is a code of HCM22 for a special discount, so definitely hop on that if you need a new website. But again, guys, definitely hit that like button, share the live, subscribe to the channel if you have not, and definitely hit the notification button so you know when we go live. We go live on Monday nights at 9 p.m. Eastern. Next month is November. I do want to get an adoptee, some adoptee videos back into rotation to talk about that, have that conversation going around YouTube again. So if you know anyone who has been in foster care or who was adopted, that's my story. Definitely send them over to the channel because next month I want to get some more of those videos rolling. But before we start, I want to ask you guys, how are you doing this evening?
I'm maintaining, chilling like a villain.
Chilling like a villain.
Yep.
Doing fine. Can't complain.
Doing well. Thank you.
Just busy, you know, with these kids, boy. I swear, man. Man,
You being the father, you supposed to be out here in these streets, okay?
My son had basketball trials and didn't make it. I was like, God. But I was kind of happy because he been being lazy. So I was like, see, this is what happens when you be lazy. So
Okay, you
we
gotta
learned
learn
the
by
lesson. Hopefully you
experience.
learn.
Indeed. It's a
Learn through
lesson.
experience.
Yeah.
Yes, yes, yes. Well, thank you again, guys, for being here. Quincy, I see you in the chat. Good evening, good people. Jordan, I see you here. Thanks so much for being here, love. Katisha, is that Katisha? Am I saying that right? Hello, hello, hello to you. Thank you so much for being here. We got Bronze Flat Power God in the building. Okay, Mr. He said in the chat. I see you over there in the chat. This says the other half of the Harris tribe, the beautiful Mrs. Harris. Thank you so much for being here. Who else is in the chat? I saw a first timer said that they were here for the first time. Hello, new here. Thank you so much for joining. I hope you do enjoy the show. Invite somebody else. Share the live if you don't mind. Who else? Who else? Yes, Jordan. We got to get the adoption conversations back on the map, and we're going to do so next month. Next month is National Adoption Month, so we're going to get those conversations rolling again. So tonight we're going to start with messages, how we used to do with the mixed messages. We're going to start with that. King and I are going to read these messages. And last week, just to give you guys a reminder, we did the For Better or For Worse show. We talked about Will Smith and Jada Pinkett Smith and for better or for worse, if they're an example of for better or for worse in the situation of a marriage vow dynamic. And tonight we're going to be talking about in sickness and in health. But before we do, we're going to read these messages. King, I don't know if you have them to put on the screen. If
Yep,
not, oh, I see it.
I've got it.
Okay, I see it. I see it. So we're going to add this to the stage, and you guys just listen closely. We usually call this mixed message session. That's what we originally started Monday nights as. And so you guys listen out, excuse me, for the mixed message. But even the marriage vow and what has transpired in this relationship. So I'm gonna start off. Question mark, question mark. Hello. So you can't be bothered now, I guess.
What do you want?
I told you everything that happened, and this is all you can say to me. What type of man have you become, seriously?
Look, the fact that you can sit here and try and place any of this at my feet just goes to show how selfish your ass really is. You are the one who cheated on me and threw away 17 years of marriage down the drain.
It always comes back to that with you. I'm sorry that I cheated and for the thing that I did and said, but I am still the mother of your children. The fact that I told you another man put his hands on me and this is your response is hurtful.
Hurtful? Did you think about hurt when you not only threw everything we built away with your actions? Nah. Okay. What about how hurt I was having to find out that you had been effing someone that you let smile in my face, and on top of that, multiple people knew. So you not only hurt me, but publicly embarrassed me. I don't give two shits what you think is hurtful.
I didn't throw anything down the drain, you did. I made a mistake, yes, a terrible, awful mistake, but a mistake nonetheless. Our vows were for better or worse. I was more than willing to work and do everything on your terms and in order to right my wrongs and try to save our marriage and verbalize that to you. Yet you were too concerned about what other people thought and being publicly embarrassed to even consider forgiveness.
You cheated on me and lied about it, even when I begged you for the truth. And then you have no other option, and you're cornered and already caught. You want to admit everything and want to ask for forgiveness when all I wanted was honesty from the start. You don't care about anyone but your goddamn self. And now that the same man that you cheated on with me with is going upside your noggin, I suppose I'm supposed to do what exactly?
I want you to not allow it to happen. What do you mean? We were married 17 years. Do you feel nothing? Or do you feel I should be physically harmed because of what happened between us? I cheated so you know will I cheated so you know will allow so you now will allow another man to put his hands on me, the mother of your children?
This would have definitely moved me in the past. but everything that's happened is your doing. You chose to bang him. You chose to be with him after our divorce. You chose for the kids to meet him, and you couldn't even be honest enough to them to say who he was.
Our business is not the business of our children, and that's why I didn't say who he was. Some things should stay between adults. You know that.
Exactly. So why the hell you telling me about y'all business for?
I'm telling you adult business, and you are so hurt and in your feelings that you are basically telling me that you are going to allow him to abuse me, the woman you spent 17 years of your life with. What happened to the man who said he would do anything to protect family? This is why I ask what type of man you have become. Your children would be ashamed if they knew what you would allow because of hurt.
Look, the mother of their father cheated with a man that they saw multiple times a week, and he's partly responsible for their divorce.
I would never turn my back on you in a time of need, no matter what happened between us, and you know it. Why can't you be there for me? I know I was wrong, and I can't really say I'm sorry enough, but you are a man, and you were the protector of me and our family. Can you put our differences aside, please?
I protect my family. You're not family to me anymore. You have become cruel and
No,
cold.
that's me.
Oh, nope.
You you have become cruel and cold. I can't believe you would allow another man to abuse me while you do nothing. You are not the man I married. You are a coward.
Look here. You put yourself in this position. Now get yourself out. The name calling won't work on me because we both know I'm the furthest thing from a coward. Put your big girl panties on and figure this shit out. Don't text me anymore unless it involves the kids. You getting your head knocked off isn't really a priority for me. And by the way, if I am cruel and cold, then it's just me replicating how the F you treated me.
And scene. All right, guys. I know it was a long
No
one.
more. That's it.
That
Dang.
that was it.
Nice.
That was it. That was it.
Nice.
That was it. So, what do you guys think about the exchange of the messages? They were once married for 17 years. She cheated, and the man that she cheated on her husband with, she decided to be with after their divorce. And now he is physically abusing her. So who wants to go? Mr. Harris, we'll go with you first. What do you think? What do you think about these videos?
Um, you know, the grass is sometimes green on the other side, but the bathroom's dirty and the sink is full of dishes and so on and so forth. So, um, this is just, typical sign language, typical modern woman behavior. I would never say all. This is just the mindset of some women, but this is what they do. They use the landmines and the controlling tactics, the name calling, the sign language. And again, he was married to her for X amount of years, and I'm pretty sure he was a great husband, but the minute she wants to use the reality stone to change reality, like Thanos, he becomes a coward and everything else under the sun to try to shame him into, acquiescing to her feminine powers. But he stood firm, and I appreciate him. Kudos, and more brothers need to think like this. We all have choices. We make our choices and decisions, and we have to live with the consequences and the reality of the consequences. And reality is something we all have to share. So she was talking a lot about feelings and how I feel, and again, painting a different picture of what reality is, and that's not something that we all have to share as your individual feelings. So kudos to him for standing on his foundation, and great improvisation, guys.
Mhm. Thank you. Thanks for that input. James, how about you? What do you think about this exchange?
Man, that was good. That was good. I like this. But honestly, to me, it sounds like judgment, right? Because a lot
Mm.
of times, we thinking we can get away from the Most High, or the Most High not watching us, or we can do what we want. We can treat people how we want, right? And then when it comes around full circle, where you think that it was a devil over there, but he was looking like he was real nice and cute and stuff like that. And all of a sudden, that man you had for 17 years that was holding you down, you begging him back to get it. He's not going to be there. So I think this is a lesson for a lot of people that we have to learn. Like, hey, we got to be 100% at most of all times. You can't let little things, slip ups happen, because just like you can be in a jail if you make one simple mistake, you can lose the love of your life for one simple mistake. So we got to make sure we take them serious and hold each other accountable. If you got a friend, you seen them slipping down, hey, bro, you can't do that, man. Hey, I know you're gonna hate yourself if you lose that woman, or the women, they see the same thing. You know, you got a good man on your side. Don't mess this up. So we got to kind of have these conversations more and be in the light more, so the positive can outweigh the negative. That's what's going on in our society, right? So us having these types of conversations is a start. And once we kind of create these bonds, we can kind of hold each other accountable and stuff. I don't got no problem with somebody telling me, hey, bro, you tripping right there. I'll go back and evaluate myself. And that's what I think a lot of us need to do. You know what I mean? We need to respect one another and have that respect to, hey, you might be on to something, man. Let me go check it out.
Great perspective. You're absolutely right. Arpain?
Yeah, I mean, if there was something that could describe what gaslighting it really is, this was a perfect example of gaslighting. There are a couple things. One, if this guy is really beating her, the only concern I would have is for my children being around
Right.
this dude.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't help this woman out, and I'm glad that this is a scenario where he left. But I would have told her, said, listen, if this guy is beating you, you need to call the cops.
Right.
You need to get the police involved, and you need to put him on record and on file. And in the meantime, give me back my kids, and you deal with that. Because if as far as I'm concerned, that's where I would get involved. If she has my children around this dude who's beating her ass, I wouldn't really care too much about her as much as I would want her to get help from the police. But I want my kids to be somewhere safe. That's the only way. That's all I was getting out of this whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
So don't wrap me up into your personal drama. Once this guy bangs you, you're his. You're not mine anymore. But if he's beating you and my kids are involved, then that's my concern.
Right.
So give me my kids and figure out what you're going to do with the police with this dude. And that's what I would land at. Yeah.
Yeah, and you said, she should call the police, and it's crazy because you had a covering for 17 years and decided to cheat on him, and maybe she thought that he wouldn't leave. Maybe she thought that he would be there through everything. He said he asked her for the truth over and over and over again. I think that when someone asks you for the truth, that's your opportunity to tell them the truth, because maybe if she would have told him the truth, maybe, just maybe, he would have stuck around or worked it out with her, just maybe. But it seemed like she continued to lie and expected him to continue to cover her as if they were still under the covenant. And she broke that covenant, divorced the man, and then went to go be with the man that she cheated on him with. And so they always say, well, hindsight's 2020. She named all the things in the messages of who he was and thought he was this great man. And now he's not this great man anymore because he's not covering you. But at the end of the day, you left that covering.
But let me ask you something on this one, and I'm not sure. What she did, adultery is one of the reasons why you can get divorced, isn't it?
It is. It is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Okay. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I was
Yeah.
going to add.
So,
Oh,
go ahead.
okay.
Go ahead.
I was going to add too, like a lot of times, man, especially if you've been married for that period of time, a lot of men just want to know, because it's an embarrassment for you to be with somebody that long and get divorced and things like that. And say if he was a part of a church and y'all been together almost 20 years and then now y'all breaking up because of infidelity. So a lot of guys will sweep that under the rug if she would have been tell the truth. I got people in my family that did that, and they still married till to this day, right? So a lot of guys, that's why he probably wanted to know, hey, just come up and tell me, and we might work this out, So it was crazy, man. It's crazy.
James, let me add this before we move on. See, I don't know. Maybe I'm not man enough. I could never get past.
Mm.
If
I
I
can't
knew
either.
my wife was letting somebody bang the cheeks, my mind is just too vivid, right? Because I know if my woman was cheating, there's no holds barred. That dude is knocking the socks off, and she's letting everything happen because this is her one time to get. I couldn't get over that. I don't know. Maybe it's just me, because I hear
I'm
a
right
It's
lot of
with
not.
you.
guys
I'm
say,
right with
No,
you.
it's
I'm
not.
with you.
No, it's
Being
not.
real, being real. He's being real.
we just landed there, because man, I could never forgive her. I just couldn't. I just can't get past it. It would be a horrible marriage after that.
Mm. Horrible. Good evening, Hank. How are you? Thank you so much for joining, sir.
Oh, good evening, everyone. Hopefully, everyone is well.
Hey, Hank, what's going on?
What up,
Right
brother
on,
Hank?
right on, brother. He said, and brother Payne, sister Precious, brother King, and brother James.
Well, you missed our Oscar performance, Hank.
It was pretty good. It was pretty good.
We read some messages back and forth, and the bottom line is you had a couple that were married for 17 years. The wife decided to cheat. They got divorced. She decided to be with the man after the divorce, and this man then started to abuse her. Her and her ex-husband had an exchange of text messages back and forth, and she is asking her ex-husband, excuse me, to save her, protect her from this man who is now abusing her. So, what do you think should go down in that type of situation? I
Man,
think you're
it's it's crazy how karma works, right?
Mm.
So yeah, she got everything she needed. Her new man was whooping that ass. Her ex-man was showing enough but love and appreciation for that length of time, and all of a sudden you just want to, thought the grass was greener on the other side. So it's only fitting. But now you playing a Keith Sweat mode, and you're begging them back. And if I was him, I wouldn't go for it, because how do I know it's not going to happen again when the next opportunity will come to play? How do I know this? And I'm rolling dice again, take another penitentiary chance with you? No, I wouldn't.
Mm.
I say, ma'am, good luck. Hopefully, maybe you and your new husband could work out. Maybe he can get him some help. Maybe some type of anger management or some other therapy that he may need to get, so he don't be whooping your ass no goddamn more. You might want to invest in some self-defense class just in case he falls off the wagon and he decides to want to start whooping your goddamn ass again. Or maybe a pistol. I don't know. One of the two. Yeah, I think that's probably your best bet to do, ma'am. But as far as being with me, yeah, we're not going back. We're not going back.
And the sad part about it, Hank, is that they have kids. So, like our Payne was saying, give me my kids because they don't need to be around that. Because mhm.
Yeah, that's not a good look. Yeah, he need to go and fight for them kids and do what he need to do, and use all the evidence that she's obviously volunteering to him as proof as far as the child custody cases in court.
Mhm.
I'm sure his public record was hopefully she filed some type of police report, and he needs to use all of that as ammunition to get his kids. Because like you said, they don't deserve to be exposed to that bullshit for their mother's bad decision that she chose to make.
Mhm.
I would agree with the gentleman. And the only thing I would add is in addition, the lack of foresight. Like you pointed out in her marriage, the ability to get in front of something. Her husband just wanted her to open up and be honest and kind of get ahead of the situation, and she wasn't able to do that. And even with this, like Hank just brought up, some amazing examples. She doesn't even see how to get in front of this situation with police, with another gentleman, because maybe my ex-husband might not fall in line with this. This isn't the
Mhm.
typical situation so her inability to see ahead, to see, the safety of herself and the children is absolutely a profound point that you gentlemen made. Thank you for that.
Yeah, definitely, absolutely. All right, I'm gonna highlight some of these comments, and then we're gonna get into the next video. So Carrie Lee Long says, guys, I was called to y'all because I'm in the hospital and my husband has been doing everything and on my what does it say? Has been doing everything. My
And
oldest
her
daughter
oldest daughter
too.
too.
I feel bad that my husband is the only one working and I know he's stressed. So this is early on in the show. So thank you, Carrie. Thank you so much for being here. I hope you're doing well. You said that you're in the hospital, so we're gonna definitely send some prayers and love your way. Um, but I'm actually gonna keep this for a little later, if you guys don't mind. Kaz says, data to marriage support is the perception of traditional that these young ones need to realize isn't true, but legal marriage is dumb, should be spiritual only and taken serious like old day. Tarika, thank you so much for being here. She says she cheated on him and left her husband for somebody who's a bum, and now he's abusing her, and now she want her husband to protect her. Katisha says no accountability at all from her. That you right about that. You right about that. I mean, you can apologize and apologize and apologize, but he asked you for the truth. Y'all up for an Oscar? Yes, we are. You better nominate us. You better check our names, okay? We're the dynamic duo over here on the Real. Corey says the grass is not greener. Everybody has issues. Everybody, total, everyone. Mr. Charles says she made her bed. Now she needs to stay there. He also says good, stable guys always get treated like a consolation prize. All right. So now we're going to get into a video that is going to speak to what we're going to be talking about this evening. You know, I believe is October. I think October is Domestic Violence Awareness Month, right? So we're nearing the
Yes, it
end of
is.
that. And so unfortunately in these text messages, you know, that's what's going on. I advise anyone who is in a domestic violence situation to do anything and everything that you can to get out of it. Because most times, in most cases, it doesn't get better. Most times, and in most cases, it gets worse. So, especially if you have children, you should not be around anyone that is going to lift a hand to you, anyone that is going to verbally abuse you. So, and yes, breast cancer month as well as we talk about in sickness and in health. One of the videos we're actually going to be speaking towards that. So thank you for that, Michael. So the next video. So you guys know the video that I have been playing with Sarita Jakes, TD Jakes' wife. I actually put that audio over this video, but pay close attention to the video. We've heard Sarita Jakes, so I just put that audio over this video because there was music on this video that I don't believe YouTube would allow me to play, but definitely pay close attention to the actual video. Let me make sure I started from the beginning. There we go.
30 minutes to say the most important words that you'll ever say in a commitment, for better or for worse, in sickness and in health, forsaking all others, richer or for poor. Then this new generation came along and we want to make our own vows. You know why? Because it's easy to break. It's easy to say, when I saw you walking across the water in the middle of the night, shut up. Better or worse? Sickness, health, richer, poor, forsaking all others, I'ma cling to him.
All right. So definitely wanted to play that video tonight for in sickness and in health. So what did you guys see in the video before I start to ask you these questions? Arpane, we'll go with you first.
Devotion. A man to his wife. I thought it was a little girl in the beginning, but that was his wife, right? So
Yeah.
it's like he nursed her back to health. It was, you know, whatever other physical therapy that she had, he gave her love therapy, and he added the physical part in there. It looked like she was getting better. and maybe she'll never go back to 100%, but it looked like she's getting more and more functional for herself.
Mhm.
But I like that dedication. I mean, that epitomizes what that means.
Mhm.
After a certain point, in your life, and I'm gonna leave it here, you'll realize that there's nowhere else to go. If you have a life
Mm.
partner, you might as well stick it out,
Mhm.
because even if you do leave, I don't know how you leave and not let the guilt rot you away,
Mm.
So you might as well stick it out. Do the best you can.
Thank you. James?
I believe his character was on display, and the importance of family. I noticed every time he was doing something with his wife, his daughter was right there with him, right? So it was a unit, and he was teaching her from a young age, giving her instructions of how to stand by when she gets married, right? So a lot of times we like to tell our kids to do certain things, right? But we're not doing it, right? Stop cursing, and then but we'll go in the other room and be cursing somebody out, So we have to make sure that even with my oldest son, right? I proposed to Lady Di with him right there, so he can see, how a man's supposed to do certain things. So we when we are learning these lessons or teaching our kids, we have to make sure we're showing them the way that we would want them to see, and also not being so selfish. So I think that was an honorable thing that he did, and I think more people, we have to stick together, and because it happens. And I think a lot of times, the Most High can be testing us. Hey, if this happened, what would you do?
Mhm.
Are you gonna stick by it? Are you gonna keep your vow that you promised? That you said to me, or are you gonna go do what the world is doing? So I think that was a great video. That was excellent.
Thank you so much. All right, we'll jump over to Hank.
For the from that video, it just reminds people how bad it could really be. It could possibly get, and that's what it's what that video is doing. Remind that, is that to the extreme? Yes, but it can happen. These things are not like nobody's immune to these things. It could go either way. It could be your wife going through it, or it could be us as the men going through it. And so you hoping and praying that everything she said she was going to do, she's going to follow up and be there for you. You know what I'm saying? And that's all you can hope for. That's all you can pray for. That she follows through what she says. And she's probably doing the same thing with you. She's hoping, praying that you're going to be there for you to the very end, even all the way up to the death. Because we all going to meet that our time is, nobody's immune to it.
Right.
But you always want to have somebody to be beside you. I know on the show yesterday, the Peace Sunday show, Mistaken shared with her that her husband has some health issues, complications, and she went to the hospital with him and got up in the bed and said, I'm here for you. Shout out to her for doing it. Shout out for her for holding to her word. You know what I'm saying, that she did that. But she also thing she said was in there was how she was going through the hospital and seeing people they didn't have nobody with them.
Alone. Yep.
Yeah, just in there by themselves. And so that's the scary part, guys. You don't want to be in that situation where you don't have nobody there for you, a significant. It's one thing your kids come by, and that's nice, that's good, but they also have their own life.
Mm-hmm.
But you want that person that you chose to be your soulmate for the rest of your life there with you, to help you and encourage you, to uplift you through the struggling times the challenging times that you're going through right now. You know what I'm saying? To uplift your spirits, because I'm sure being in that situation is very discouraging. It's a hard pill to swallow, especially a man who's always been on the go, strong, able to do damn near everything, carry the weight of the world like he was Atlas at times. But then all of a sudden you're at your most vulnerable point where you can't even feed yourself. I couldn't imagine. But you have situations like that. Are you going to have that woman? Are you going to have that man there for you to help you through and encourage you, say, letting you know it's going to be all right. I'm going to be here for you every day in this hospital. As long as you're here, I'm here. And I'm gonna do what I can to help you get back to the point where you're in a good place again, health wise, mentally wise, and emotional wise. So,
all right, thanks so much for that. Actual King Smith, what do you think about that video?
So, R. Payne said a word that's probably one of my top 5 favorite words: devotion. I absolutely love that word. I think that when you take the meaning of devotion, and when you see devotion between two people, no matter if it's man to woman, husband to wife, brother to brother, mother to father, when you see devotion like you saw in that video, to me that kind of stuff is inspiring. Not too long ago, there was a male boxer who got hit in the head, had some brain damage that affected his ability to care for himself. And I don't know if it was his girlfriend or his wife, but he had a lady with him that was there from the bed to him not being able to walk to during rehab, and over time he's been able to regain certain features or whatnot, but they had documented that. And I see that kind of stuff as inspiring and a true showing of that word devotion. I think that it's a powerful thing when you see it, and that it can be inspiring. And I hate the word hope, and there's a reason for it. I don't hope that I have somebody that can show me that devotion as long as I'm devoted to them. It's my um it's my duty to devote myself to someone, and I guess I have to use hope that they can reciprocate it to me if something were to happen.
Okay. Mr. Harris, how about you? How do you feel about that video?
All of the fellas said a word. I just want to let y'all know that, man.
Yeah, good.
For me, that's the personification of the vows. I mean, that's what the vows look like. If you want to see them up close and personal, and like everybody said, but King Smith, I'll piggyback off of him. I think that's our inspiration, all of us as humans, to have another human that not only does that for you and displays that devotion, but don't mind. It's not
Mhm.
a problem. It's not a big deal. This is what I want to do for this person because they're amazing and they're my significant other. That's when the partnership comes in. This is why I don't want you to call me partner when we at a dinner party and you're describing our union, but please do call me a partner when it's time for physical therapy and getting you back to, what we can be a healthy and functioning relationship. You know, I appreciate this topic near and dear to me because we did this. This is what we do. My wife had a full hysterectomy. Presh, she's 47 years old. And like I said, not only was I here for my show, her show, that's minute. Like the house still had to run, the kids still had to be nurtured. She had to be nurtured. Whole diet change, whole lifestyle change. This is what we sign up for. This is why I
Mhm.
told her that I love her more than anybody else in the world, and I'm gonna be here for her. And it wasn't just words, and this is why we sit in these boxes. Some of us men, we understand that this is life, that it's a roller coaster, it's ups and downs, and we here for it. We love our women. We just want them to be nice and all of the things that we talk about so that this relationship, like I said in the beginning, it doesn't have to feel forced. It doesn't have to feel artificial. I don't mind going out getting the bag for this woman. I don't mind being a devoted, loving, loyal husband to her. She deserves it for what she did, walking up to me in the nightclub and seeing the potential in me and curating my home and having my children and working when she needed to and now
Mhm.
homeschooling my child. Like all of the sacrifices she made, how can I weigh the scale and somebody outweighs her? But again, that's just the personification of these vows. We stood in front of everybody and said that we would forsake all others, that we would love for richer, for poorer, sickness and in health, and the rest of the intangibles. And like, we've been talking about the transaction of relationships have just made everything so tangible that it's easy to not be there for your partner. It's easy to walk away when things get difficult, but that is what true devotion, what true love, what true partnerships looks like. Being with
Mhm.
somebody when they're down, so that we can be up together and feel good about it. Sorry for being so long-winded.
No, you're good, you're good. Alright, so we're gonna go back to, this comment. Carrie Lee, I was called to y'all because I'm in the hospital and my husband has been doing everything and my oldest daughter's too. I feel bad that my husband is the only one working and I know he's stressed. So as men on the panel, what can you say to encourage Carrie? I mean, you guys talked about devotion and duty and things like that, but what can you say to encourage her in the way that she's feeling on behalf of her husband, believing that he's stressed in all that he's doing while she is in the hospital?
I would, if you don't mind, I'll go first.
Yeah.
On just off the top of my head, I would tell her to relax. This is what are made for. It's what men are made for. If I mean, I don't know your husband. If he's the kind of man that you're devoted to, or that's a word there again, in love. Yeah, he might be stressed, but these are the times that make men men,
Mm,
right? I'm sure he's going through it, but he's never going to tell you. He's never going to sit down and tell you how tough it is. But that's what the shoulders are made for,
mm,
and God bless your family, and you know that you'll get through this thing, but don't let that stop you from healing because you're worried about him. That's the last thing he'd want you to do. It's the last thing he'd want you to do. I'll just land that there.
thank you.
Hey, yes. Now, I would say to her, if you can say the words to that man, hey, hubby, husband, Peter, whatever his name is, I see what you're doing and thank you. You don't need to add anything else to that, Carrie. Just when you talk to him the next time, preferably in person, just say, I see what you're doing and thank you. And leave it at that. Let that man know from you to him that he's got things and that you see the work that he's putting in. That right there is power enough. And then you take the time, take that stress away from you and allow yourself to heal.
Yes,
Thank
indeed.
you.
I wouldn't disagree with that at all. I would agree with that wholeheartedly. Well wishes to you, speedy recovery, but they're absolutely right. Your speedy recovery is the most important thing, and recognizing his effort and contribution to the family would be amazing for him. Me, I'm gonna make this real quick. I'm a sports player, and every night you can't have an amazing night. And knowing that you have, a teammate that is able to, capable to pick up the slack and go above and beyond, take care of his share and yours for the temporary time being, kudos to him. And you allow yourself to heal and get back to your team so you guys can continue to win championships.
Yeah, no, that's right. Anyone else wanna speak to Carrie?
I was going to add one thing because I agree with all what the brother said. I was actually wrote that down because a lot of times I be forgetting. But I honestly, with a situation like this, you have to make sure you level headed, and level minded. Anything you could do while you are in the hospital, right? You might have to put your hand down there or something. Just what I mean, just any little small thing that's showing you, hey, babe, I understand you. I can't do everything I used to, right? But I still know you got your needs, and what I mean, I love you. So you can just, what I mean, touch them down there, what I mean, touch them up a little bit, what I mean, but what I mean, if you can, but what I mean, every little thing matters, right? And guys, we appreciate the effort and we appreciate the love. Just like when ladies, when that man goes the extra mile, y'all appreciate that too as well. So what I mean, just tell your husband like, hey, I love you, I love what you're doing. You know, I know you stressed. I'm gonna get better. I'm gonna get back in the gym with you. We're gonna be just like old times, right? I'm here. I ain't forget about what you did. Thanks for what you're doing, and thanks for being there for me, right? And thank your daughter too as well, because that can be traumatic for her too as well. So you know what I mean, just be happy for the people that's in your corner and that's showing you love. So that's all I have to say.
Man, James, I hope you wasn't talking about giving that man a hand job. I don't know.
Hey, I didn't want to say it.
God damn.
He said, put your hand down there.
What is Jay trying to tell this woman? Oh man, but on a serious note, yeah. Hopefully, you know, y'all have y'all affairs in order, financial affairs in order, where even though he's down and out right now, that he's maybe hopefully collecting some type of short-term disabilities in the meantime, between time, and that you have saved up enough to try to guide you through these down times. You know what I'm saying? That's why investing your money in the right places and the right things is always a must, right? I don't know what your plan is. I don't know if you're willing to start maybe getting a part-time job, you know, to try to offset some of the bills. Definitely have a conversation maybe, you know, with your bill collectors. Let these guys know that we hit a rough spot right now. I made it need a little grace. I don't know if you rent your home, your apartment or house or whatever, or you're a homeowner. Let your bank and home loan people know, you know, to what's going on, and try to get ahead of the curve with this situation, because you don't know how long this can be. You know, hopefully it's not a long-term situation. It's a short-term thing, but you still want to make sure you do those things and make sure you prepare properly for this type of situation. Hopefully y'all did. But if not, try to get ahead of it right now as soon as possible. And just to try to continue to encourage him, be there every day. You know, if you can, maybe stay the night with him at the hospital. I don't know if you can do that because of kids.
She's the one in the hospital. She's in the hospital, and her husband has been, you know, pretty much doing everything to support her and her daughter.
Okay. I'm sorry. I misunderstood that.
That's okay.
So, my man, keep grinding. Same thing goes for you. So you are still working. I'm sure you're stressed, and it can be stressful, especially if y'all have kids. Now you taking over maybe more of the duty that she was doing. And then let me tell you this, you're going to learn to appreciate her even more so when them kids are getting on your goddamn nerves and you can't watch the game in peace no more like you used to because the lady's not around. Hopefully on Mother's Day, you'll get a nice big fat gift and some flowers and some chocolate in a nice restaurant. But she's going to make it through, I'm sure. Just make sure you're up there as much as possible. And like I said, if you don't have kids or young kids, if you're able to spend some nights up there with her, please do that. That will definitely encourage her, and that will definitely uplift her spirits. And let her know she's a great woman, and I'm looking forward to having you back home. You know, you've been blessed in the hospital for this amount of time. I need for you to come back home and bless me and to bless our children. And I want to continue to bless you by being here for you and encourage you with kind words, you know, text messages, you know, leaving her love notes, all those good things that you could possibly think of, my man. Definitely do that for her, and definitely continue with words of encouragement. I don't know if you're a believer or not. Definitely drop the scripture or two for her, if that's what your belief is. So just do what you can to be there for her and encourage and uplift her and lift her spirits, and continue to press on, my man. Because I know that's your wife and you love her, but your kids also need you too, because they're going to be stressed. They're going to feel some type of way because they're not seeing their mommy anymore walk through them doors or doing the daily things she's used to doing. All of a sudden, it's a different dynamic. So now you got to reassure them as the father. You have to reassure them that it's going to be all right and we're going to get through this as a family. So.
Thank you for that, Hank, and thank you for actually speaking, you know, to her husband too. It's something that she can show him, and hopefully it keeps him encouraged with being there for his wife in sickness and in health. So I didn't know that comment was going to come through, but that's why we do these things, right? Because I trust you guys. I trust your perspective. I trust your insight. You're in relationships, married, children. So you're on the front lines. You guys know. And so I definitely always appreciate you being up here because I always say if you can help one person, that's just one more person. You don't always have to try to get to the multitude. If it gets to the multitude, great. But it's always that one person that really needs to hear from you, that really needs to hear a word that's going to speak to them. So I appreciate you guys, and I'm sure she will too. So thank you for that. All right, so we're gonna get to some of these questions here. What does in sickness and in health mean to you personally in the context of your relationship? So we'll start with James. We'll start with you.
Honestly, I think that's the no matter what happens, your leg amputated, it can be from mentally messed up. It can be even spiritually messed up, right? You know what I mean? And anything that you got going on, right? I'm gonna still be there with you, and I'm gonna try to make sure I be that light to get you back to what you need to be, right? Your health. So I think a lot of times in our society we always think about me rather than the family and the greater good, and we're not willing to sacrifice our needs to make sure that somebody else is good, right? So, and I think we got to start teaching our kids this at a young age, so when they do get older, they're already used to sacrificing. Just like last week when we was talking about different sports teams that we played on and stuff. You got to make sure that that's a great way for your the kids to learn too by playing sports. So it's a lot of different things, a lot of different avenues that you can learn this, but we got to make sure we start them off young, so when they get older, they're not spoiled brats. So.
I agree. Arpine, we'll go over to you. What does in sickness and health mean to you personally in the context of your relationship?
I think when people are married and they look at that part of their vows and stuff, they think about being old for the most part. They're thinking about we're in the sunset, we're past 70, 80, and that kind of stuff, and we have to support each other. But it really, the test is really what happens when you still have youth left to one of you or both of you, and how do you stick together? I mean, for women, I would imagine that they get challenged when their men get ED. I think for men, you might get challenged when your woman is going through menopause or things of that nature,
Yeah,
And so
it will be.
how does that part of it work? I mean, I have my own anecdotal story. I had, and I'll be real quick. I had what you call those kidney stones.
Mm-hmm.
And at some point, I wasn't able to pee, right? So I go to the hospital, blood's coming out and stuff. And I didn't know they had to put the catheter in you and stuff. And that was the first time, and I'm going to say this, I was glad I didn't have a 10-incher.
Ooh.
Because they got to put that son of a gun all the way through there. I said, I said that to the nurses. I said, you know what? I never thought I'd say this. But this is the first time I'm glad I didn't have a 10-incher while they're shoving this thing in there, man. I'm saying, holy shit, right? So my hospital didn't have a urologist on staff. So I had to go home with a catheter on for 17
Lord
days.
have mercy.
Oh my goodness.
17 days of hell. And my wife took care of everything like she was a trained nurse. And the only thing the nurse told me while you had the bag on, I didn't sleep for 17 days. The damn thing filled up with pee, right? So I had to go empty it. But the lady said, if you don't really clean the tip of this thing, be pus and all this stuff coming out of it. I said, wait a minute, what are you talking about? So I had to have like Neosporin was my best friend. So I had to clean the shaft, put Neosporin on it every single day. My wife had the gauze. We had all that stuff, and she would take care of me, clean that stuff off, and I had to do the rest. And she never complained. She never was late. She still had to do some other stuff. And it was like, who is this woman? And I'm going through all the mental gymnastics that I possibly can, waiting for my appointment with the urologist for 17 days. I'm like, so going through that was, I guess, it's like my road to Damascus kind of thing, right? So I mean, everything was cool after that. No more problems, none of this stuff. But man, it was unbelievable what she had to do was I started concentrating on what she did more than the stuff I was going through. But let me tell you, if anybody can make 17 days act like it's like 100 years, you get something hanging from your Johnson for that long, and you get, it's just like there. I'm a new
Mm.
man.
Oh, have
I
mercy.
know I'm a new man. Listen. If I'm taking care of that whole urologist, that whole thing down there, that's never. I mean, if it never happens to me again while I'm conscious, I'm be happy.
You'll be all right. You'll be all right.
So kudos to my wife, man. She like,
Kuda. Look.
yeah, I swear to
Yes,
God,
Okay.
indeed. Yes,
yeah.
indeed.
Yeesh.
So let me guys make sure. I don't know what happened for those stones. They were cleared up, but it wasn't really my diet wasn't that bad. And I was just fat. But all that stuff, I'm eating well. I'm doing all that stuff, man. I've never had any problems since then. That was like a year and a half ago. It was just a traumatic situation. So,
Wow.
guys out there, I hope it never happens to you ever.
Woo.
Just go to the bathroom, emptying out that little bag. Man, I will wake up and oh my God. Oh, why you guys making me relive that shit? What kind of question is this? What kind of question is, I'm reliving.
Thank you for
That
being
was for
so hot, honest, open, and transparent.
yeah,
You know,
but
I
that's
think
the
that's
sickness and
important.
Word.
health
Thank you for
kind of thing
sharing.
because she actually no complaints, no nothing. That part's over. But now we're both getting over to that thing, and health is very important to both of us. So we
Yeah.
try to make sure that we'll have a little bit better transition into those real sunset years. But because all of our mortality is in front of us now.
Yeah.
I've
But
got a
let me ask you-
question to both. Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done.
I have a question to both Mr. Harris, R. Payne, and I'll probably throw this one out to James too. Maybe you'll be able to add something to this as well. So, in sickness and in health, how early, if at all, did you and your wives talk about, hey, what would happen if, and then something like that occurred? Did y'all ever have those conversations early on in the relationship at all?
I can tell you, I honestly didn't have a full-on conversation with my mom. What would she do if the worst happened? I mean, I was there for her through us having, her going through her things when we were trying to have children. There was a lot of traumatic situations, including that 12-hour surgery she had to go through.
Mm.
And but we never really had an explicit conversation about that. What if this? What if that? We just didn't. So she was just like on autopilot when I went through my whole thing. She was just on autopilot.
You want me to go? Honestly, I it's expected. Like I already, me going into a relationship or into the marriage, that's not even much conversation we have, and that's kind of like if I'm going to get a job, it's like of course you're gonna get a job, you're gonna make sure you doing what you're supposed to do. So we didn't really, we didn't have no conversation like that because it's already understood that we getting married, we're gonna be together forever type of deal. So that's how I always looked at it, unless you cheat. But other than that, we good.
Okay.
Uh, first date. First date, King. Mrs. Harris, not me. She is a Pisces, super artistic, like cliche Pisces, and she was, what if I had one leg? What if my eye fell out? What if? And
I need
hindsight,
to
she
know.
was in a car accident. She was in a car accident, so very
Mm.
traumatic for her, and that was something that was definitive in her life. So she wanted to know about character. She wanted to know about intangibles. So we really didn't spend any time on whose car and who's paying for this, but it was 1998. So you know what I mean? Times are different now. The
Yeah.
schematics of the playing field is a lot different now, but we were looking to change the trajectory of the dysfunction that we came up in. So I don't know if these younger people are looking at that and finding a common ground on that and then moving forward. But that was, first date. She wanted to know, if she was in a wheelchair, I was in a wheelchair, And it was just like the most ironic thing to me, like, where is she? But it all started to make sense, 25 years later.
And see,
Mm.
I like that. James saying that, it was something that was never brought up. To me, that's a little bit like not weird in a weird way, just off to me, because I would like to know how this person would answer that. And because of what Mr. Harris says, like, I think it'll help you kind of glean into that person's character a bit, understand how they can handle adversity for, and maybe not date one, but early on, to see if, this could be somebody that you can rock with through to the end.
Yeah.
But only thing what my wife did, she was only thing she used to say to help me have that same mindset was she said she wanted to grow old together. So it wasn't that, what I mean, that it would have happened if I did this or what happened right there. It was like, hey, I can't wait till we grandparents and we rolling our wheelchairs next to each other. So it was more of those type of conversation, not like what I mean, like what would have happened if I got my leg amputated.
Bet.
So I know, as far as for me, I mean, if you have kids, you having a sample of what it could be, because that is a medical procedure, whether we believe it or not,
Yeah.
to have a child. So she's going to be down for a while. So she's going to be limited on what she can do, right? So us as the husbands, we need to our the man, or whatever title that you got, we have to be there for them. That's a sample size of what it could be if things could go left or things can go bad. That's a small sample size of what it could be. You just have to know how to operate and be respectful for each other, you know what I'm saying, and give each other the time and patience and love that that person needs, and be be overly sympathetic to them, because I promise you, nobody wants to go through that stuff. Nobody wants to, but it's just a reality for some people. And so you just got to be have a certain level of patience, more patience than you probably ever had, and be more understanding and be more compassionate to that person. So
That's a great point, man. The only thing I would add to that is when you guys come out on the other side of that, I would say extra kudos to that partner that held it down. Like
Yeah.
they definitely showed some qualities and some strengths that held everything together. So I would definitely, suggest that extra kudos to them for being able to operate on those facets. Great point, Hank.
Yeah, very good point, because I know y'all probably be hurting for them 6 weeks. Y'all probably be hurt.
I mean, here's the
But
thing,
even on the
Precious. What
flip
I was
side of
gonna
that, I
say is
mean, go ahead, go ahead.
a typical day when the missus goes down is, making sure she's all right, taking care of the house and the kids. Let's get dinner prepared. But then we have to sit down for 8 hours and perform our job at a high level. We can't make no mistakes because we thinking about the significant other is going through. So you know what I mean? We got to kind of
Mhm.
compartmentalize. And again, when we beat our chest about compartmentalizing, we get shamed for it. We get villainized. But being able to compartmentalize, like, we have to still go and perform and be good at our jobs and still keep a certain mindset, still have attention to the significance, still curate the house and keep it going so that it doesn't skip a beat and the kids doesn't, still attend to the kids and their emotional vulnerabilities. And you know what I mean? So it's a lot that, shout out to you fellas, man, that y'all don't get credit for. But I see,
Yeah.
I see what it takes to have, a significant other, a union, a relationship, a partnership, whatever you want to call it. But shout out to those people that take the chance, that put the work in and show what it could be, man. And all of you guys are great examples of that.
Yes, yes, that's and Mrs. She says that was hard for him to go in the office to work while I was down for months, you know, up close in color, when you are literally on the front lines, knowing that your wife is hurting or in pain or down or had surgery, and you got to leave the house to still provide, still be in that mental space, compartmentalize, like you said, Mr. Harris. Women are not good at that at all. We're not. We're just not. So thank God for men who are, and that's why it is very important in who you choose to marry. Very important. Did everybody answer that first question? I think we got around to everyone. Alrighty. So a lot of these questions you guys have already answered. I do want to recognize Marcus. Marcus, thank you so much for the $2 super chat. He says, "Great panel, my people." Alrighty. So, and Hank kind of touched on this a little bit, but we'll have everybody go around and kind of answer it. How can you prepare as a couple for potential health challenges that may arise in the future?
I mean, that's I didn't even know that you were about to ask that question, but that's why I brought that up.
Mm-hmm.
Communicate that, like, I don't just sit around and think about doomsday scenarios all the time, but there are curiosity questions, especially when you're talking about bringing two people under the same roof and doing a life together. I think, like, question, stuff like this here. Let's get deep. They ask these type of questions that get you to communicate those thoughts and think through them, and it gives you the opportunity to hear how the other person would potentially face some type of adversity, because it was somebody that said everybody has a plan until you get punched in the mouth. Like, once something actually happens, it's a totally different story. But it's dope to see somebody follow through with what they said on something. If you've communicated it prior, you kind of planted that seed a little bit, y'all have had that conversation, and see if that person's actually going to follow through with what y'all communicated about prior.
Okay.
Great point, sir. Great point. I would just, piggyback off that. 2,000 questions. 2,000.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with a good question. It starts a good conversation. And, I hang my hat on being a sapiosexual. I'm attracted to a brain. I need a good conversation. I need, you know, hypotheticals. I need visionary shit. Like, a visionary is an amazing person. They get to see the future, but they see it by themselves. Nobody else can kind of see it with them. So that's what I'm attracted to. And I think questions and conversations is what leads to that. So I think you definitely have to, like King said, communicate, ask those questions, ask follow-up questions, ask rabbit hole questions, and that's how you know that connection is there. When lunch turns into dinner and dinner turns into breakfast, you guys have a great conversation and a great union. Work at that.
All right. James?
Also, you said the question was kind of like basically helping. Can you repeat the
How
question? Yeah.
Yeah, no problem. How can you prepare as a couple for potential health challenges that may arise in the future?
Okay, perfect. Yeah. So I think in today's time, we more concerned about the treatment rather than prevention. So
Okay.
we're in the information age, right? We can learn anything on YouTube. We can learn anything on Google and everything, right? But we kind of wait to the last minute. Hey, oh, I got this. I got this illness, rather than saying, oh, these herbs treat this. Or we have all the information. We can test things out. We have anything you want to know. We can learn it, right? So I think we gotta focus more on the prevention phase. So just like with my son, right? I see he has a eating problem, right? He always like to eat a lot of food and stuff like that. So I was like, hey, you gotta make sure you get it right, your right portions. I'm making him work out twice a day, just burn some of that energy. And every time his butt go to the south, boy, I swear he gained like 20, 30 pounds. But
Ah,
and then I had to come back up here and got to start everything over. But you know what I mean? But we gotta focus more on the prevention, just to help them out, teach them. And then now is when they're kids, they like, okay, once I have this, now I know where to go to get the information. You know what I mean? So I even teach them stuff like putting floors down. He'll watch me go to the video and find it, and then he'll go do it. So you know what I mean? We just got to be more in the aspect of prevention rather than trying to stop it when it's too late.
Yeah. I mean, just to piggyback off of, listen, I got a little out of balance myself and I gained a lot of weight, but my wife has always been kind of, she's always been within range for herself, But when my daughter moved out, I converted her room to a gym. So we
Mm,
have all the equipment in her room and, we use it. I mean, probably by next month, I'll probably be down like 100 pounds,
nice.
you know.
Nice, Alpine.
So so we eat very, very well, good food here. And we try to make sure that for dinner we eat before 5 o'clock,
Mhm.
4 or 5 o'clock, and that's it. And then,
We all knew that, Alpine. We knew that. You eat at like
That's old
4:30.
school right there. That's
Yeah,
old
we
school
knew
right
that.
there.
Eat at Denny's,
Having
4:30.
that dinner before the sun go down.
yeah, so we do that. So we have like a measured kind of thing. And on Sunday we always have like the vegetables and all that kind of stuff. So I cook on Sundays, but for the most part, we got it together. We have
Mhm,
like a regimen for breakfast, and it's not food. I mean, we have a mix that we use,
mhm.
and a plant based mix, and then it sustains us through the day. And for me, I eat a lot of fruit now and a lot of vegetables and stuff, so it's better. So we're set. I said, and my oldest daughter was more like me, but she's pretty cool. But my youngest daughter, she never eats unless she's hungry. I mean,
Mm.
she never eats unless she's hungry. She's in pretty good shape. And I never seen anybody like that. If once she's done. Not one morsel anymore. And she's 24 now, and it's like it's just part of her life. So she's like her grandmother was always thin. So that's good. I say, good for you.
Mhm.
Good for you. So I never
Yeah.
try to
Let me ask
change that.
Alpine, let me ask you a question. Would you say she eats to live and not lives to eat?
Yeah, yeah, that's for sure. For sure. I mean, and it's not nothing I taught her. I can tell you that. Right? I can tell you that right now. I didn't teach her that. So she just got it, man. So I never try to disrupt that. So when she's at the table, when she's done. I said that's a good thing. That's a good thing.
Yeah.
So anyway,
That's
but
that's
so
smart.
we're trying to be preventative because I'm 65. My wife is 62. And so we know we're going into those years, and whether the best years are behind you, and we still want to have some pretty good years going forward.
Yeah.
So I got to catch up a little bit. And a lot of people, if you eat right, medicine and all that kind of stuff will keep you alive, and we want it to be productive. So
Yeah.
that's what we do.
Thank you. Thank you. Pink, did you need me to ask the question again? Oh,
Yes,
yeah.
please.
How can you prepare as a couple for potential health challenges that may arise in the future?
Well, with me, I'm always making sure I invest, and I'm all for like emergency funds and all of that. I'm subscribed to the Dave Ramsey plan. I've done it for a long time, probably ever since
Hmm,
I got out of college.
that's good.
So I I try to make sure I'm financially prepared because emotionally you could never prepare for some stuff like that, right? You
Yeah.
you could say everything, you can never prepare for because you don't know what's coming. So how
Right.
can you really emotionally prepare? Now financially, you can kind of prepare for it, right? You can kind of you don't do certain things. You know what your house payment is or your rent is. You know what your car payment is if you still have it. You kind of have an idea what your basic necessity bills as far as how much you spend at groceries, on your lights and gas and water and all that. So you have an idea, so you can kind of plan for those type of things financially. But as far as emotionally, it's kind of tough,
Yeah.
especially when they hit you, with that news of possible cancer or something like that, it's going to hit you like a ton of bricks.
Yeah.
So, as far as preparing for that, I can't, I don't know. Depending on your religion, your faith, if you're a believer, I guess you could definitely, pray about that and have that good conversation with the good Lord and with your family and friends, but as far as anything else, I don't know what else you could do, but make sure you are financially in a good place I'm a man who's always going to sit there tell you, make sure you have a life insurance policy. Don't be selfish. Don't rely on selling fish dinners at the church on Saturday morning to bury your stinky ass. Don't do that. That's a selfish move to me. Doing a OnlyFans and try to sell do dance and activities or a comedy show to bury you. Don't go fund me to do those things when you was living good, going on these exotic trips, wearing that passport out. That could have been a year's worth of life insurance policy you could have had, but instead you chose to do that and just allow your kids to take the burden on, or maybe your wife if she's still around, or your husband, or just the opposite. You relying on your husband to do the take all the solo thing because y'all chose not to make the proper investments. So definitely make sure you're prepared financially in that type of way, doing those little things you could do. And even if you can't afford a big policy, afford enough just to bury your stanky ass.
Mm-hmm.
I know you maybe can't afford to $1 million policy. Okay, I understand. But if you could just get enough policy to bury you, or even go even cheaper, cremation. Don't worry about what Aunt Malona said. Talking about, I know I want to get a girl. Are you going to pay for this burial plot? Are you going to pay for this headstone? You're not. You have no goddamn say so. We're going to cremate him. If you want some of the ashes, I'll put it in one of them red plastic cups you used to drink out of at the club, and you keep it goddamn moving.
The red Solo cup.
We're not going to do this. Unless you're willing to contribute to funds, the burial of Hink funds, you have no say so. Give your condolences and all that good stuff, and keep it moving. We got to only do what we can afford. Whatever's feasible, we're going to do. So those are the things I would definitely share with people to prepare for. Financially, you can do it. You just got to be smart about it and financially literate in what you're doing. But as far as emotionally, that's kind of tough, man.
Yeah.
I definitely would definitely lean on family members and loved ones and each other.
Yeah. I definitely would say
get punched in the mouth.
Yeah. Like the actual King Smith said, no one's sitting around worrying about doomsday. But things like a will, you definitely want to have that in place. If you have children, you want to know what's going where, who's getting what, even if you have to modify it at some point in time down the line. But at least have it. I remember in college we had I think it was called marriage and family class. And that was one of the things, can you write out your will, write out your wedding vows, write out, there was a couple of things that we had to write out in that class, but you're not a lot of people aren't educated on that. Your insurance plans, are you educated on, your insurance, your long-term, your short-term disability? Do you have copies of each other's insurance cards in case anything happens? You have that in your wallet or on your person, or in your important paperwork. Make sure your important paperwork is accessible. A lot of people be sticking that stuff underneath their mattresses. They don't have no real files. They don't have no, designated place that if something was to happen, you both know where to go for this information. This is not information that should be hidden from your spouse, because you are now one. So becoming one means we both know where to go to find certain important information. Yes, King?
Do the men on this panel all have a will and a power of attorney? And do your wives or fiance for Hink know exactly where that stuff is located at?
Yep.
As far as and not only that though, let me say this. Yes, that is definitely something you definitely need to have. I do have a will, and the kids know what's expected. The lady knows what expected. If I was to pass, or when I pass, like I said, when I pass, She everything goes to her. My kids will split my 457, my 401k, and my 457 Roth. So they will split that amongst them. But everything else she gets. But I also have an insurance policy. I got 3 in policies for each child will definitely get a settlement of their own too. So my daughter, my son, and my granddaughter are all entitled, or all got a policy that they will benefit from me. But now that's me going the extra mile and extreme. I wouldn't recommend everybody do it. Now, if you can afford to do it, do it. If you can afford to do it, do it. So then they're not fighting and all that. Everybody's going to get what they get. So, but yeah, I definitely recommend it. I put all my passwords and information on a USB stick. She knows where it is and what she needs to do with it in case, I go down. But of course, she's already gonna have all the passwords anyway. There won't be nothing hidden. I'm all about one pot, so she's gonna have all access anyway, and she's the beneficiary to every account. So that's not going to be a problem with that. But she does, I do have a USB stick as far as the passwords and logons. And the reason I got that for my kids, just in case we both go at the same time for some reason, they have access to it. They know what they need to know, and then we go from there. Now, as far as my properties, the kids gonna have access to that if my wife doesn't want it. Then they're going to have the first bid on it. So if they choose to keep it, maintain it, or need to live in it, they can, or they choose to sell it, they have that right.
And it's just a good, these are the kind of shows I think we probably have, maybe not this forum, but a forum about talking about this, because because I have something similar. It doesn't sound like I have all those kind of assets you got, but I did the same thing for my wife, my children. We kind of, I tried to set up quarterly meetings, but sometimes it's more like a couple of times a year, 2 or 3 times a year, where I talk to them. My kids know where everything's at. My wife knows where everything's at. And, we have some things that's based on a beneficiary and some things that's covered by the will. And there's a difference there. And we got to make sure that the distinction, if you have an account, 401ks, a lot of that stuff asks for a beneficiary, whereas a will is more like your properties and stuff like that, I believe. And I think your creditors can't get to your beneficiaries as much as they can get to the stuff that's in your will, if you have creditors at all. So those are the kind of little distinctions you got to make. So, yeah, so you got to be prepared. So, yeah, King, yeah, you got to do that. But I got an old head, man, rip me a new one because I didn't have that prepared. And when I was working, some of the old heads, I was up and coming. And he asked me, he said, well, you got a will, for your family and all that. My kids might have been around maybe 10 and 3 at the time. And I told him no. And by the time he finished ripping me a new one, I was in a lawyer's office before the week was out.
Oh, that's right.
And see, our pain, that's dope, because being in the service, they stressed it with us. And even though I've been out of the military since 2011, that was the kind of mentality and thinking that I started to do. So my daughter's 16 now. She understands about my policy and stuff like that, because just like you, I have a quarterly just talk with her to make sure that she understands and know where everything is at, and things like that. My parents, I have no idea if my mom or if my dad has anything. Not a clue. Don't know. They haven't talked, brought it up to me. But also, now that I think about it, as a result of this conversation, I'm gonna talk to my folks this week and be like, "Hey, so what's up? Should something happen? Like, how's everything looking like? You know what? I'm gonna put myself on mute because I'm gonna put this in my phone right now."
I say another thing, man, you need to do is make sure your person knows what your expectation is for as far as your burial. Do you want to be cremated? Because some people may not want to be for whatever reason, religious reasons, whatever. They may not want that. Let them know you don't want that your cousins to be coming with that goddamn spray on t-shirts with your face on it. That shit's so goddamn hood to me. Please don't allow motherfuckers in my place of rest. Bullshit. All of that. Who you want to sing at your funeral? Who wants, if you want last rites for those who are goat riders and camel riders, y'all know what I'm talking about. If you want to have your like King said, your colors honored, all of that needs to be talked about. All of that needs to be shared so they know what to expect and what you want as far as your last of days.
Yeah.
Do you want to be taken off the machine if it could come to that? Is that what you want, or do you want them to hold on and just try to do what they need to do? All of that needs to be known by your person. You don't want them to have to come to make decisions. Your older, your grown ass adult kids are fighting with your wife over some bullshit that should have already been handled.
No doubt.
From the giddy up. We not, you want such and such to be the preacher or the pastor, or you don't want to do it at a church. You rather do it at a funeral home, whatever the case may be. All of those details you need to have a discussion, talk about. I know it's kind of morbid. It is what it is. We're all going to face this situation, regardless of how strong or how powerful we think we are. Death is going to come upon us one day. You got to prepare.
You got to have those uncomfortable conversations, and just be real quick. And I would caution people to make sure you don't try to do it yourself, because you don't know all the questions you need to ask yourself. So you might have to throw out a couple of dollars for somebody's profession. I don't know if you did that, Hank, if you know a lot, but most people don't know the right questions to ask themselves. So I tell people just go to a lawyer and find one. It's not going to cost you an arm and a leg to be asked the right questions to put in a will, a trust, or whatever it is. Just way you do it professionally and get it out the way. Because legal Zoom and all that kind of stuff is good, but if you don't know the right questions to ask, you're gonna miss them.
I was going to add, so me being in the military, right? So like Ashley King Smith said, this is always stress to us, right? So, and I'm also about to renew mines. And another thing with my mom understood how important this was too as well. So she gave me her will too, because after my stepdad passed. So a lot of times if somebody passes away or something like that, now they're like, all right, well you gonna be the next in line. So she made sure I had the will, and I made her tell like my other brothers, like, hey, this is what we getting. You getting this, because once she died, I don't want them saying, oh no, it's unfair. I wanted this and she gave me this and blah blah blah. And because I'm the type of person like, hey, I'm not going to argue about some stuff, right? You can just have it. It's not no big deal, But I want
true
to make
colors
sure
come out when during death and birth. It really does, and a lot of people don't have their affairs in order, and then you have siblings fighting. You don't know what to do with the land. You don't know what to do with the house. So it's very important.
Yeah, so that's why I was like, hey, let's go ahead and have this conversation now before you go. And once I might need her to record it so I can play it for him. You know what I mean? Because I ain't trying to have no issues, and we just move forward like that. So, but how sometimes how families go when it comes to greed, but I'm not that type of person. So,
well, I know we all know, man. The horns, the tails, everything comes out during that situation. I remember we had this guy. I think it was on the Black Man Filter show one time, and he was talking about, yeah, I got it handled, or I forgot whose show it was I was on, but I'm just listening. I'm like shaking my head, dude, you sound crazy. Well, I talk about, I know I'm gonna do right by the nieces and nephews and the father and inherited the stuff to me. I said, let me tell you this. You say that now and just because that money ain't came your way. But once that money came your way, you think you really gonna really share all this money that you inherited, that you entitled to, but your father just gave it to you to see just on how you want to split it? No. See, now the burden's off him. He gone, he dead and gone, he moved on. He ain't gotta worry about it no more. He ain't gonna have no more stress, no worries. Because now you gotta deal with that shit. And you don't think family fall out. We talking about we close. Yeah. You close until it comes to that money. Yeah. You close to getting them assets. You close to come to that property or them investments that they know they no longer are entitled to. I feel like they should have some say so in it. Yeah, you close in, but once they come out, all of a sudden, man, they don't realize you, my brother. We ain't shit. We ain't blood no more. It's about that paper. They don't see you. And I didn't watch family members fall out and no longer have nothing to do with each other because of inheritance.
Facts.
So,
Now, this panel is interesting, as it's entitled In Sickness and in Health. But even with just what we've been talking about today, it's not just a direct impact between you and the person that you're married or you and the person that you chose to do life with. There's also other people that can be impacted, as we've been talking about as well. There's a man in the chat, Mr. Sterling, who said that this is a very touchy subject for him as he lost his mom today. So I wanted to take the time to tell you that I'm truly sorry for your loss there, Mr. Sterling. And, these conversations and topics and things like this highlight, just as important as it is to understand the things between you and your wife or you and your girlfriend or fiance or whatnot, there's still an additional element of you and your parents and how things can be, or you and your wife's parents and how things can be, and how you support each other and things through those trying times.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Absolutely. So sorry for your loss, Mr. Sterling. Um, I would like to welcome you to a club that none of us wanted to be a part of. I lost my mom when I was 9 years old, and it was a eye-opening, very surreal experience for me. So again, so sorry for your loss, and we hope that this stream helps. My answer to your question. Yeah, things are in order over here. Mrs. Harris is the next in line in the hierarchy. And again, we don't say these things to be insensitive. This is what it is. Like Mrs. Harris is next in the hierarchy. Everything goes to her. And then she dispenses it as she sees to the underlings that are next in the hierarchy. And that's because I wanted to make an honest woman out of her. I heard the cliche all my life, but it rings true. I don't want her to have any pushback, any argument. She got all the passcodes. She got all of the necessary things to, like I told her, liquidate as soon as you can, everything you can, so that you already have a nest egg, so that you don't got to jump through all of the hoops and the circles you're gonna have to do when it's time to produce legal paperwork and so on and so forth. So I think that when we talk about sickness and in health, we not only talked about that, we talked about her next partner.
Oh,
It's gonna
wow.
be a stranger. Like, so now you got to go through the carousel again and start to get to know a stranger that may do you wrong, and or maybe you might want to pick one of my friends, one of my honorable, upstanding people who I'm familiar with. That listen, it is what it is. I'm not here no more. But again, these are the conversations that we have. We go down the rabbit hole because death is guaranteed. It's the only thing guaranteed. But
Mm.
this is what I'm gonna land my plane on. I lost one of my best friends about 2 months ago. Still, it's still killing me to this day. I miss you, bro. Two L's up.
Mm.
Rest in peace, Dirty Face. But when me and my wife went there, she told my friends, I ain't doing shit for y'all. I'm gonna be honest with y'all. I am not getting this big get together so y'all could come by and drink and smoke and yuck it up. What about me? Who gonna come lay in the bed and hold me? Because
Mm.
I've been in a relationship for 20 years with this. Like, we so selfish. We care about the wedding, we care about the funeral, we care about putting on this show and acquiescing to so many other people. But that's not really what it's about. It's about the legacy that we leave. And again, I think this is why the younger people, they bulletproof themselves from relationships, because I've been with the missus 25 years. I can't imagine one of us leaving before the other one. We still gotta keep the legacy going. We still gotta keep the businesses going. We still gotta, while the other person is in the dirt, they in the ground. And again, maybe I'm able to process this and talk about this because I was next to my mother when she took her last breath at 9 years old. Never had my father in my life a day. So I had to understand that this unconditional love that everybody else get is gone for me. If I want it, I got to create that. I got to make a family and to get that again. So, again, it's a unique situation, but sickness and in health is something that's guaranteed. We're gonna have those good times, those bad times, those healthy moments, and those moments that we're in sickness. But I think you guys ring true to everything y'all said today. Medicine is in our kitchen. It's not in no hospital. Medicine is in our diet. Medicine is in prevention and not reacting to sickness. So,
Yeah.
kudos to you, gentlemen, for the information that you guys are dispensing today. I love coming here. And thank you for having me, Presh. Sorry for being so
Of course.
long-winded.
Yeah,
You guys, you're good.
can I add one thing though?
Yeah.
It's funny that you was talking about that, Mr. E said, because what I envision with my wife, right, is this: for us being at the age we are, I'm thinking when I start thinking about my grandparents and some of the folks who lived in the late 80s and early 90s, you start to think that when one goes, it's not uncommon for the other one to go months after, 6 months after. And it's kind of funny. I think what happens is that the touch of the other person is missing, and there's nothing that can replace that at that age, right? And so some of the things that you used to be able to fight off, there's no reason to fight them anymore, right? And I think that's some of it. I mean, there's probably a psychology about it because I've seen it happen more, and I think almost everybody's aware of that kind of stuff happening to elderly people. And if I had to choose, that's the kind of way I'd like to go out with my wife, right? We're close. And it's kind of funny because me and her together, and I talked to her, she says, one of the best things that I have now with you is that we always want to hold hands. When my wife comes to see me, she always puts her head on my shoulder, grab my hands up, we're walking, everything. She says, I just like to, you touching me. And I tell her, listen, I always feel better when you're in the room. No matter what's going on, when you're there, I feel better. And it's like an intangible. It's like a real intangible. And I can't really explain it. It's just like a spirit. And one of the things I give it credit to, I'm going to land it here, is because we didn't allow our children to come between us. We are not strangers from each other now that our kids are grown and going their own way. We look towards the empty nest with just her and me together, and we're not strangers from each other. And that's why I tell young folks, when you have children, it's very important not to let your children become the center of your household. The relationship always has to come first. So
Yeah.
that's one of those kind of things.
Some kids gonna have their own life. They're gonna
Well said,
start
sir.
their
Well
own
said.
life, and you still gonna need each other. All right, so I'm gonna play this next video, and then maybe ask another one or two questions because y'all on it tonight. I mean, y'all in my notes. I mean, y'all are covering all the bases. So, but I'm gonna play this one video. Luther was singing in the background. Y'all know how YouTube they not forgiving. They don't want us playing Luther. But I'm gonna play it and then I'm gonna read the caption that was actually underneath of the video as it plays. You're gonna see a husband walking in, presenting his wife with flowers and chocolate because it is their anniversary. Okay, so it says 42 years down, a lifetime to go. Yes, I am Ella. Yes, I am Bella writes, cancer sucks. Happy anniversary to my parents. 42 years. As many of you know that both of my parents battle with cancer. However, my father's cancer has been a rough one for us all. As much as I tried to keep it private, this is my reality, and it's been a journey and hard to admit. My father is my hero and best friend. Every girl needs her father. My mother thought he forgot about their anniversary because he's in severe pain most days and can't do much. But he surprised her. Together, we have it all. I'm so thankful for my parents. We grew up poor and didn't know it because of the love we had growing up. They got married at 18 years old and had all 5 of us at 26. Mom and dad, we appreciate the sacrifices and giving up so much for us. This is what you call love. And so she thought that he forgot about her anniversary, yet he was in pain and still made the effort to come and see his wife and the mother of his children. So, this is also just a depiction that you go through things in relationships and you're in it for the long haul, and things like cancer, things that, we cannot control, we cannot explain, do infiltrate relationships. And again, I'll say it again, this is why it's so important to choose the right partner, not the most attractive one, not the one that has the most money, not the one that has the most notoriety, but the one that you can love through it all, the one that you can sacrifice and have, like Mr. Harris said, it's no problem. It's no problem. It's no problem for me to sacrifice for you because it's something that I wanted to do. It's something that I signed up for when I made these vows under this covenant with you. So, I know that there was no music or anything on that video, but have you guys ever dealt with, any type of, and you guys have given, any health scares or anything that you have dealt with in your family, but have you ever seen anyone actually deal with someone who had cancer? Because I couldn't imagine. I couldn't imagine just the mental instability that you have when dealing with something like that and not knowing. And I know Hank was saying, if you're a believer and do what you believe and prayers and scriptures and things of that nature, but sometimes when you in that situation, you don't even think God listening to you. You don't even think God is hearing you. You think God is forsaking you. So have you guys ever experienced anything like that, either with a loved one, a mother, a father, or someone close, or even in your relationships where you had to be there and witness that?
Sure. Sure. I mean, cats and other, you have a big enough family, you have these kind of stories.
Right.
And I'll be real quick. There was 20 of us born to, as first cousins, brother and sister in that line of generation in our family. And it took 47 years before the first one passed away. And just recently, last year, my cousin, he just turned like 52 or 53, he died of cancer.
Mhm.
But he was one of the most popular cousins we had. Everybody loved him. What the family did, and I thought this was unique, we had a family reunion a week. Well, he was really weak, but before, he was on his way out. We all knew it. But we went down to his hometown and had a surprise get together for him while he was still alive and still conscious enough to know we were there. Now, nobody talked about his ailment. We just had a great time.
Mhm.
And then he was dying of stomach cancer. He died a week later, and then we went down for the
Mm.
funeral. And I just thought it was so great that we celebrated him while he was still alive,
Yeah.
and because we knew he was going, but it was really a celebration. And when we all went back, church was packed and all that kind of stuff. But there's so many other things. My father kind of passed away. He passed away he had diabetes and he died from that, but he had all kinds of ailments because he kept pushing himself. And my stepmother used to come over to my house just to decompress. So one time she comes over to my house and she was an old Southern girl. I mean, my mother died when I was 8, and he didn't get remarried till like 14 years later. And so he was with her. And so I knew her longer than I knew my mother, right? She was a beautiful woman, I swear. And I have another brother and sister because she was there. But she was devoted to my father. But he used to drive her crazy. She came over to my house in hysterics
Mm.
because she couldn't get him to lean into his ailments so she could take care of him. And I had to tell her, I said, listen, I know you love him and all this, and you need to stop feeling guilty and you need to let him go. I said, you need to let him go. When he comes home from doing what he's doing, he still was trying to run the numbers. I said, when he comes
Mm.
home, dress his wounds, give him some food to eat, tell him you love him, and let him go. You could always come over to my house. But, I got through to her because she was going crazy, and so I said, listen, let him go. He knows what kind of devotion you had to him. And so I mean, so I've been through some of that stuff. And my stepmother was something else because she could drink a little bit. And she used to come over my house and she used to drink me under the table. She used to look at me like, you whiskey Delta, She just, and she was a little older, but she got over a little bit of that. But she could hold her liquor, man. And I'm over here like falling under the table, man. I couldn't hear it, she's just smile. But she was a really, really lovely person. And she took care of my pops. So we all watched him just kind of deteriorate until it was too late. And then he really impacted her. And they were really close. He was devoted to my mother, but he was married to her much longer. And so I mean, you see these kind of things. You live long enough, you're gonna see it. You're gonna see it. So let me just land that there.
I seen me just working. I work in the medical field in the military, so I had to I actually had to have my dad move in with me because he was having different illnesses and different things, and I was kind of trying to keep an eye on him, trying to get him to work out, trying to get him back healthy. What I mean? We was trying to have him eat better foods and different things, and he was here for like a year and a half, but I had to actually save his life because one day I fell. You know how you watch a TV, you fall asleep on the couch.
Don't I know? Nap queen.
Yeah. So I had woke up, I heard my dad breathing funny, and I was like, dad, dad. And then he got up, but he was incoherent. So I already knew. I was like, dad, and he was just looking at me, just staring. And I was just like, dad, like, so I knew something was wrong. So I hurry up, we called the police. I put a pulse ox on his finger. His SpO2 level was low. I'm sorry, that's the oxygen in his blood was low, and got the ambulance there. Whatever, his blood sugar was like 36. Right. So we was doing such a good job with his diet that he was still taking the diabetes medication, but he didn't need the diabetes medication no more because he took a lot of the crap that he used to drink. So he was still taking his medicine, but he wasn't checking it. So they had to give him a whole bunch of sugar to kind of get him back right and stuff like that. And he started after that, so he didn't have to take the diabetes medication no more. And then later on, he ended up leaving and going back to Alabama because he was kind of embarrassed, whatever. But it was some other issues that he got going on, but he had to leave. But now he's on dialysis, so it's a lot of different things that I'm kind of like seeing, dealing with that. Man, I've been I worked in the ER before. I had the saddest thing to watch is a baby die in your arms, and that stuff you'll never forget. And just doing different things like that, and even with my stepdad, I watched him take his last breath. So, and he was there since I was 3 years old. So it's it's a lot of those different things that's kind of weighs on you, especially in the industry that I work in. But yeah, it was kind of some of the things that happened to me.
Okay. So I'm going to get into the last question. We're going to get out of here. I really appreciate you guys so much this evening. I think that we are helping a lot of people. And even if it's just that one or two, it's just one or two more people that need that encouragement to hear this. King actually sent me something in my inbox about, you know, just coming to the realization that life is real and we have to prepare and we have to stay prepared. The last question is going to be, how can you maintain a strong emotional connection during both good and challenging times in your relationship? Hank, I'll start with you. We haven't heard from you lately.
How can I maintain
A strong emotional connection during both good and challenging times in your relationship.
Man, I mean, look, it's definitely gonna be a challenge. You know, it's definitely gonna be a challenge to your belief, to the relationship. Um, but I would definitely have conversations with family members that are dealing with the struggle of a loss of a loved one, who are dealing with a family member who's may been through some illness, and how do how do you maneuver?
Mhm.
How do you maneuver through these situations, mentally and emotionally? How do you handle it financially? How do you handle these things? Because it's man, it's definitely going to have to be a conversation that has to be had, and I feel like as soon as possible as you can have it with your significant other, the better. So y'all could both maybe come up with some type of game plan on how to deal with it. I don't know what else to say, man. Just definitely rely on friends and family, man, who've definitely experienced those type of situations. If you have your parents still around with you, definitely ask them, maybe your grandparents, because I'm sure they are definitely been through some ups and downs, especially as far as health wise and everything. If you have the opportunity, maybe in a hospital they have some outreach programs that you could probably involve yourself in to know how to deal with certain situations. And I didn't get to speak on the last one. I'm sorry, I didn't. I was
I'm
looking
sorry.
this up. But I did have to deal with my great grandfather who had colon cancer, and that was a challenging thing, right? That was a challenging thing. I stayed with them because I wanted to make sure they'd be all right, and and to help them, maintain, some sense of normalcy, but at the same time be there just in case I need to be there for whatever reason. So, one of the things I was very disappointed my grandfather about was not sharing with us that he did have colon cancer sooner.
Mhm.
And maybe we could have prevented some things, or could have addressed it sooner. Maybe, he wouldn't have passed as soon as he did. We could have had a few more years to be blessed with him, but he didn't share that. He's one of those prideful black men who don't believe in going to the doctor. He's of that era, right? I don't trust him because of what they done to us. So, one time I was taking him to one of his appointments, and unfortunately we didn't make it because he had an accident. When you're dealing with colon cancer, you don't have no feeling down there. You're numb. So you don't know if you have to go to the bathroom or not when you got to, take a bowel movement. Don't want to be as graphic as my man R. Payne, but yeah, you have little to no feeling down there. So he didn't know he had to go, and so he had an accident in my car, and I had to just deal with it. I got him in the house, got him in the shower. While he was in the shower, taking care of his, wash himself up. I got to go out there and clean my car up. And unfortunately deal with that until I was able to get it detailed and deal. And it's kind of humbling to him because he's apologized. I said, no, don't worry about that. That's irrelevant. At the end of the day, it's about making sure you good and you in a good place. I mean, it was to the point where he liked to hang downstairs. He's one of those old school dudes. He had a CB radio, right? And that was his way of communicating. He would talk to the truckers and do all that. So he would just stay downstairs. He had a little couch bed downstairs he stayed on, and he had a bucket down there that he would use and stay down there. And he would sit on it 80% of the time because he'd never know when he had to go to the bathroom. And he didn't, he knew he probably couldn't make it upstairs to go to the bathroom. So that was his bathroom. And there'd be times I had to, empty the bucket full of what, and wash it out, clean it out, deal with it, and keep it moving.
Hey, Hink, during that time that you just talked about, did you have a wife then, or was it just you?
No, it was just me.
It was just you? Okay.
Matter of fact, I was fresh out of college. Fresh out of college, substitute teaching. at the time. Had to take some time off to deal with that. So yeah, financially, it set me back about a year because I was off pretty much a whole year. You collecting unemployment, but we all know unemployment's not a lot, right? So dealing with that, make sure he's good, because I knew my mom couldn't do it, my aunt could do it, because they was working their full-time jobs, and they had their family. I mean, my brother still had to be taken care of because he was still in he's about to graduate. He was senior in high school that year. And so she had to maintain him, and my aunt and my little cousin, she was young. I think she was probably in her teens. So I wouldn't want to put all that burden on them. So I had the time. Financially, I really couldn't afford to do it, but I was willing to do it. And I did what I had to do. And it was stressful. It's stressful. It affects you. It affects your social life too, right? Because you couldn't really hang out a lot, because you never know, any moment you could be called to do whatever you need to do. He fell down, or this happened, or something else is going on. And so it was like, couldn't have really a real relationship, and couldn't really hang out with your boys and do all those things, because you're focused on, tending to your family, and this man who poured so much into me taught me how to be a man. So it was a must that I give back to the man to help raise me to the point where I am. You know what I'm saying? So I didn't. It wasn't even an option for me. It wasn't even. Now I think about it. No, what do I need to do? You know what I'm saying? Can I afford to do this? Are y'all willing to help me? So fortunately, I didn't have a lot of overhead. No student loans. I was on scholarship, so that wasn't a problem. No car payment. Car was paid off. So that wasn't an issue, but still, there's little things that you can't have, because you just couldn't afford it, because you had there's a bigger picture.
Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna go up to Mr. Harris. How can you maintain a strong emotional connection during both good and challenging times in your relationship?
That's a great question. I'll piggyback off of Hank, and I'll be very quick. My grandmother had pancreatic cancer, and I come from a neighborhood where cancer was kind of like every other house, the smoking and the cantankerous lifestyles, and to see somebody deteriorate, in front of our eyes, and their significant other still see them as day one. You know what I mean? That love, you could still see that they see them the same. The beauty is still the same. The love is still the same. That was very admirable to see in the face of adversity like that. How you get through it is, what I just alluded to, day one day at a time, just like an alcoholic gets through it. You got to revert back to why we fell in love. What I love about you, and think about those days from day one up until the day we're standing in front of each other right now, getting through these tough times. I think that's what relationships are built on. These triangulars are just that. They're a third thing. It was always just me and you. When we walked up to each other, and our eyes passed, it was me and you. And we were all good. Now the kids or the bills or the sickness, these things get in the way, but they're just things. We get through that. We get to the next thing, and I think that's what makes us stronger, is that, it's always going to be something. It's always going to be something. But we get through it as a team, we get through it together, and it's on to the next thing. So I would say, how you get through it is one day at a time, you know, appreciating that partner every day for what they did, even if it's just Tuesday or Wednesday. I think that's the most operative time, because anniversaries, birthdays, we know what to do then. But
Right.
Tuesdays and Wednesdays happen a lot more.
Thank you. Thank you for that. Arpane, did we go with you yet? How can you maintain a strong emotional connection during both good and challenging times in your relationship? Seems like you guys have mastered that, but get a folks
Yeah,
some
it's funny because again, you can't, anticipate when there's going to be challenging times, and some of it's just based on your blessings. But I think it's I think I've always tried to be measured in the kind of, if I'm just talking about my wife, measured in the amount of emotions one way or the other with her. In terms of whether we're solving problems, if we're having fun, we belly laugh and do all that kind of stuff. But the only kind of real trying times I think I had for her was with her that I really, really had was when her mother was passing away. She was the only child for her mother and her father. Right, her father had other kids, but she grew up by herself. So she had that I guess single kid kind of syndrome from time to time, but she
Only
was close to
child.
her mom. And so she had to have that uncomfortable conversation with her mother. And at the end, her mother was, in and out of the hospital because she was kind of real brittle with arthritis.
Mhm.
And so I know I had to support her because that was always on her mind. With taking care of her mother while we had the kids. They were younger and became teenagers. So I had to give her the emotional support. And I remember when we got the call when her mother passed away, because I answered the phone, and as soon as she was in hospice, as soon as they said they wanted to talk, I just knew the deal. So I give her the phone, and then she went into a silent cry. Right. So and at those times you don't say anything, you just hold a person.
Yeah.
I just held her, I just held her, and then after that, I helped her take care of the business that needed to be taken care of. But she was emotionally prepared, and I had to just be strong enough to let her know everything else around her was taken care of. And that's just how it went, And you had your tears, we had the funeral, we had the burial, we had all that kind of stuff for her mother. Her father had passed away. Same thing with her father. Her father paid for our wedding. And I always tell people this. I think I'd be a better man if he would have lived. He died a month after our wedding,
Wow.
right? And I was close to him. He used to tell me stories about how he migrated up from the South. And a lady wrote a book about the blacks who migrated up from the South. He was one of those pioneers for his family to come up, you
Mm.
know? And we used to talk all the time. And he had a heart attack, but I found out later he told the doctor just keep him alive long enough to get through the wedding.
Wow.
And he died a month later. And that's another time I had to, you know, uh, be there for my wife. But I was almost as devastated as she was,
Right.
because I was looking forward to getting to know this man. And that's not taking anything away from my father, but this guy was different because I went to him and asked for his daughter for marriage. We had a different kind of relationship, and I was looking forward to talking to him, learning some
Mhm.
more stuff from this guy.
Right.
So for both of her parents, I was there for her, and then emotionally, I had to just be the rock, even if I was going through some stuff too. So so I don't have anything any more than that, other than I don't know how I navigate some of these things, right? So I just do, right? Because I don't show a lot of emotion in front of my wife in terms of like tears. It's mostly, I mean, I laugh out loud, I have fun with her. And if I'm sad, she knows it. If I'm a little, but I try not to get down. I think the fact that I didn't have to deal with a lot of trauma with her is just the Lord willing. But I hate to act like it's a knock on wood situation, because hopefully we have a lot of life left.
Yeah.
So I don't know what's gonna happen, tomorrow.
Mhm.
You know what I'm saying? So I just pray for the best.
Okay. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. King, did you go on this one? How can you maintain a
Ah,
strong emotional connection during both good and challenging times in your relationship?
yeah, let me be the person that come up here and raise my hand and say that once in the past I had failed at this particular question. In my prior marriage, my ex-wife's grandfather had passed away, and this was right at that tail end of us going through it. And
Mhm.
me and my pride and my stubbornness, I could not see a way that I could get myself from Maryland down to Alabama for the funeral, because in my head I'm asking myself, how can I support you when we ain't right. Looking back at it, that was a mistake. Now that wouldn't have been the thing that would have still, kept us married. I still could have gone down there, gotten through that, came back up, and we were still likely headed towards a divorce. But when I do go back and look at that, in my opinion, I was wrong for that. And I don't think I ever apologized to her about that one. I don't know if she'd hear it. Like, we communicate, we're cool now. But I don't think I ever apologized about that one to her. Looking forward, I'm in a relationship now, and the way that I would handle something like that would definitely be a lot different. I mean, when things are good, things are good.
Right.
The trying time is when you have those challenges. In my opinion, if you're a solid person and somebody that stands on your word and you care about honor, then you're going to honor the things that you've agreed upon with somebody and stick to it. And if you're somebody who's not honorable, you won't. I can say that I wasn't honorable then. I believe I am an honorable person now.
Thank you for being hot,
Yes, indeed.
honest, open, and
Thanks for sharing,
transparent.
man.
We
Thanks for sharing.
appreciate that for sharing that. Yes. Mr. Harris, did you go on this one? Did everyone go
Yeah,
on this
I
one?
did. I
I
did.
think
I
we
didn't.
did.
I didn't go yet.
Okay, James, I'm sorry.
Oh no, he's
Uh,
fine.
how can you maintain a strong emotional connection during both good and challenging times in your relationship?
Yeah, I think honestly, you just got to make sure you continue to do your job, right? A lot of times when, just like King was saying, we'll forget the type of things. Oh, I'm not feeling right, so I'm gonna stop doing this, right? It's kind of like if your sink is leaking, you don't want your toilet to start leaking too as well. You just want to make sure, let me fix this sink. You know what I mean? Make sure that that job is done, and then if the toilet start leaking, I'm able to fix that too as well. So a lot of times we like to come, a lot of combine a lot of different issues, right? Rather than just, all right, this is going on, let me fix this. This is going on, let's fix this. So you maintain and doing your job as a man or the woman. She knows, okay, my at least my needs are met. I might not be liking him right now, or I might not be liking her right now, but at least my needs are getting met. Now that can promote a good union coming back together, right? Because all right, my needs are getting met. I just didn't like this was happening, but he didn't continue to do this, or she continued to do this. She still makes sure I was taken care of, so she still cares about me, or he still cares about me, right? And I think another thing I had wrote down was you know don't take things too seriously. A lot of times we take stuff so seriously, and it can be the smallest little thing. Oh, you didn't give me my lunch, or you forgot to make this, or you didn't iron my clothes. Like small little stupid stuff, right? That we can just throw out the window. So a lot of times, like when an issue come up, I'm like, hey, it ain't that serious, whatever. We ain't gotta talk about it. You know what I mean? But if it's a big deal, we're gonna talk about it. But if it's something like, oh, you disagree with me about this, all right, cool, whatever. All right, it's not no big deal. You agree with that? All right, cool, I got this. You know what I mean? And then the last thing I said, make sure you try to forgive, because you're gonna want that same thing in return. So hey, if somebody do you dirty, you know what I mean, we forgive our homeboys, you forgive your homegirl. So the person that you choose to decide to be with forever, make sure you forgive them for some of the things they did. I ain't saying everything now, and I ain't saying to take disrespect. Make sure you check that. But when things like small stupid stuff happens, you know what I mean, just say, all right, cool. You didn't mean to do that. All right, just to make sure it don't happen again. If it does happen again, you know what I mean, we can try to help make sure it doesn't. You know what I mean? So that's some of the three little tips that I would give to kind of help that situation.
All right. Well, thank you guys so much. We're gonna go to final thoughts, but before we do, I just want to thank you guys for being so transparent, so honest, and open this evening, for your words of encouragement for those who are actually going through it right now, for sharing your life experiences, whether it be with your spouse, your an ex-wife, actual King Smith. Thank you so much for that. Or even, family members that were close to you. It seems like all of you men on the panel have had you were in close correspondence with someone in the sickness and in health realm. And so you have experience there. You have what they call skin in the game, right? And so now you're married, whether it was with your spouse or a family member, But now that you're married and your relationships and your newfound loves that's going to the road of marriages, you know what it's like to have a duty, or what it's like to be dedicated to someone in sickness and in health. So I'm really glad that we went over this, Val, this evening, because you guys, you stepped up, you uh were hot, honest, open, and transparent, and I think you really did do the show justice. And so we're just gonna go around. We'll start from James. We'll go over to our Hank, Mr. He said, or Mr. Harris, and then we'll end with King, with you guys' final thoughts for this evening in the show.
Thank you for bringing me up again. Let me be on the panel. With much respect to all the brothers, man. It was a great being with y'all again. My final thoughts is we just kind of like what last week with our mindset, right? If we think something is going to be hard, it's going to be hard, right? I remember taking a test when I was younger. You know what I mean? You're 6th grade, 7th grade. Dang, this test gonna be hard. As soon as I look at it, you know what I mean? It's already in my brain that it's going to be hard. So a lot of times we look at these relationships that same way, and that's the reason why a lot of us fail, because we don't look at it as easy, right? If you look at a relationship as easy, you 9 times out of 10 you're gonna have more productive relationships, because you're gonna make sure you're doing your job, your duties, and then you just tell her, hey, just make sure you're doing your side. You're not gonna have to be all this correcting and all that type of stuff that we like to do in today's time. She's gonna automatically do what she's supposed to do. You're gonna automatically do what you're gonna do, and you just have these types of conversations with her. Have her listen to podcasts like this, and have other people sharing ideas. And some of the seeds that you planted is going to start to sprout, right? Because she's gonna be like, oh, I didn't understand it when you said it, but I understand it when he said it, right? But we all saying the exact same thing. Don't matter how she get it, loans that she get there, right? So that's how we have to do, and we just kind of got to come together more and just try to build these strong unions again, and we can have productive. Like a lot of these people on the panel has been married longer than me, right? And I'm listening to all the game they're giving, and that's how we got to look at it. Stop hating one another, and we can learn anything from anybody, even the people that's not married. You know what I'm saying? So we have to make sure we get wisdom in all forms and respecting one another and creating this open dialogue, so we can all build and become strong as one unit, as a family.
Thanks so much, James. And
You
thank
know,
you
it's
so much for
very
being here.
yeah. Okay, go ahead. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. I was just thanking him for being here.
No, well, thank you for letting me up again. Listen, one of the things I think is issue with relationships is that we try so hard to fit each other in boxes, and those boxes are influenced by modern times and social media. Other than just looking at the person that you want to be vetted with and tied to for a long term marriage, be intentional in what your relationship might be. And again, it's all kind of a negotiation, right? Because you can settle how you want your life. You can negotiate with your woman, or if you're a woman, you're with your man. I'm talking about heterosexual people, on how you want your life to be and your relationship to go into marriage. And you could start with the vows and all that kind of stuff. But like for men, I tell men really, if you're gonna have your wife and she's got to work, first you got to dispel the myth of 50-50 and think about financing, and this whole notion that women, this whole notion that her money's her money and your money is our money. That kind of stuff is just childish shit that somebody put into the media, and people keep running with it. Women have been working for the family forever. I mean, this is not nothing new. We live in an economy, unless you are the top percent man or woman for that matter, both of you guys got to work. Both of you guys got to put money into the pot, whether it's one pot like King says, or however you do it. I'd say a lot of that stuff is negotiable. And I told men the only thing that's not negotiable is that you have to be the leader. And you never ask your woman, can I be the leader? If you have to ask that, then you ain't the leader. Right? So I just tell people, we make this stuff so complicated. And sometimes I really feel bad, because I'm saying maybe I missed something, because I'm breezing through my marriage to my wife. And it's not like she's a unicorn or I'm a unicorn. We
Right.
just made a choice. And that's the one thing I always love about. I tell people, I said, my wife hasn't stopped being a woman just because she married me.
Mhm.
You know, and what I really look at is, and really, I really cherish that. All the things she does for me is because she made a choice to do it. She doesn't cheat on me because she's making the choice not to. My wife was pretty good looking. I know she was getting hit on all the time, especially back in the day. But yeah, she didn't have to come back and tell me about it. But I just know she had worn those off because she's one of those kind of women. I know pretty much her spirit. She can't serve two masters,
Mhm.
you know, or more than that. She just couldn't. And so I just think that we complicate this thing. If you're a man and you find a woman who wants to be married, who desires to have a family, you'll negotiate out how you're going to do it. And your marriage doesn't have to look like anybody else's marriage. Just keep them out of your business. That includes your mother, by the way, your father, and everybody else.
Okay.
Nobody needs to be in that. So I'm just saying we complicate life because we think we live in modern times of social media. We got to behave some kind of way. That's just horseshit.
Right.
You don't have to do that. And anyway, and I'm gonna end it there. But hey, James, listen, man, you guys put out a video like 5 days ago, and I was crazy enough to answer a question on there. I replied to that video about the guy and his wife. And I'm still getting people hitting me up for my answer. I swear. So I'm a member of your channel now, man. People hit me up every single day, of what I said in there. I don't know if you guys saw that or not, but
no, I'm going to check it out. Appreciate that.
it was the one about I'm gonna be real quick. It was about the one with the guy said that if his woman wanted to get a job, but her boyfriend was the new boss.
Oh, okay.
I
Yeah.
responded to that one. And
Okay,
I
I'm
said,
going to check
listen,
it out.
I said, yeah, my response was that he mentioned that she was just his girlfriend, no other information. I said, she doesn't owe him any allegiance by just being his girlfriend. You don't want her to work for old boss, you got to put a ring on. You got to promise that woman. You could ask that of a wife, but you can't ask that of a girlfriend. At a difference, and a lot of guys came back at me. I said, listen, this is the biggest mistake I think women make by acquiescing to men's desires without making men commit to them. That's why you get in these 5 and 10 and 15-year relationships and you got nothing to show for it. And I think that's a big mistake. If there's one thing I tell women, a guy, if he wants you to be his wife, it ain't going to take him 100 years to want to marry.
Facts.
And that's a big issue that Kayla Nicole is having because Kelsey moved on. She wasted 5 years on this dude. And she's bitter over that. And, actually, I don't blame her because nobody told her that this guy he got everything he needed out of you for 5 years. So it's not just the purpose of this show. And, so anyway, James, go back and look at me. I got like 200 likes on that daggone thing and like 40 replies. I'm having fun, by the way. So anyway, it's cool.
Right.
Anyway, I'll end it there. Hey, good show. I'm glad to come out here with you fellas, man. It was some good conversation.
Thanks, Arpane. I appreciate you. Alrighty, Hank, closing final thoughts.
Yeah, we're gonna have to put a clock on Arpane's. God damn, brother. But yeah.
I'm doing my Ike. I'm doing my Ike.
Goddamn.
Ike must be driving tonight.
Shots fired. But yeah, as far as the close mark on this, great show. I appreciate you. We're precious for constantly having us and putting up with us men to even have the conversation. I know it can be challenging at times, but it's always for a good purpose. So my final thoughts on this, man, just make sure you prepare properly for every situation that you can. Make sure you try to prepare your children, if you have any, for the situation at hand. Make sure you inform them, let them know what the process is, even when you're going through the tough times, like surgeries like that and procedures, there's a chance you may not come through. There's a chance. These things are in line. This is what's going to happen. This is how we're going to move. You got to prepare yourself for that. I mean, I know when I had my colonoscopy, one of the things I had to deal with, and they showed my ex-wife that if for some reason he doesn't wake up from this procedure, because it's possible. When they put that under anesthesia, it's a possibility you may not wake up. So, those are the little things, that was probably like the first reality check that we really had to really deal with of come through that. I didn't think about that at all, but they're correct. It could happen. So just make sure you're prepared in all situations as much as possible. Now, as far as emotionally, I know it's going to be kind of hard because you can never prepare that for 100%. But, just definitely have the conversation with the children and with your spouse, what's the plan going to be if this and this happen. So make sure you prepare as much about financially and mentally, emotionally as possible as you can, and go from there. So.
All righty. Thanks so much, Hank. Thank you so much. Mr. Harris, final thoughts?
Yeah. Thank you for having me. It's a pleasure, as usual. Fellas, appreciate y'all as usual. Hank, my brother, Arpain, appreciate you. James, you know it. King Smith, appreciate y'all, man, so much. Y'all have no idea. And my final thoughts would be for the missus, man. Just like I said to you, it's my pleasure, Pressure. And it's my pleasure, Mrs. Harris. It's my pleasure to do what I do because of the way you curate my home, the way that you produced my children, the way that you show them the value of a man by having them love me and telling them what I do, just the things that you do every day. It's my pleasure to do what I do. And I think that's the sickness and the health part of it, and the death do us part of it, and the richer or poorer, and the forsaken all others. I know it's a choice.
Yeah.
I know she could have whoever she want. I know I can grab somebody out there. I know. But this is we chose to be with each other, and this is, the thing that I say about relationships. Like, out of the billions of people, the person you choose is the person you badmouth, the person you choose is the person you disrespect, the person you choose is the person that we gotta evaluate whether I'm paying 50 or 100 or 25, or we gotta evaluate this with the person that I chose to be with. You could just choose somebody else. That these things are not a problem. So again, it's really, for me, the not a problem that Mrs. Harris is my lawyer. It's not a problem for her to speak up for me. It's not a problem for her to go to bat for me. She doesn't mind. So, you know fellas, ladies, grab somebody that doesn't mind, the intangibles, that doesn't mind the tangibles, that doesn't mind when we in a rough spot, as long as we get through it together, as long as we continue to have integrity and character and morals. I think we can go up and beat anything. We humans. So, y'all are worth it, everybody, and you got to feel it before anybody else. You got to know it before anybody else. You deserve reciprocity. So look for that person that's willing to put that into you. And again, thank y'all for having me, man. It's always a pleasure. God bless and good night.
Thanks so much. All righty. Last but definitely not least, my co-host, the actual King Smith. Final thoughts, sir.
So, final thoughts for today's subject. I'm aware of somebody who he is looking for a wife, and this person's parents are on him about saying that it's not as hard as he's making it. And him and I are having conversations about these things, about how he's out here, he's vetting, he's not putting 100-point inspection on somebody who he's trying to as Hink say, bless with his last name. Yet, he is having to kind of deal with some of the harder parts about, and I'm doing air quotes, modern dating that there is out there, with finding someone that can show you or give those intangibles that can possibly, because it's hard to be able to see devotion until you go through something, right? So for today's show, uh I would like to think that with the wisdom and experience that the men have had on these panels, that the people that are out there on the opposite side of the gender, so ladies that are looking for men that can show devotion and understand it and things like that. Hope that you know that there are guys out there that have that, and for the men out there, that you're keeping your word and things that you're choosing to do and honor. And if you're somebody that is seeking someone that you could give that devotion to, it ain't impossible. Might be, you might have to be out there for a while, but
Gotta be
it's not
intentional.
impossible. It's not impossible.
Gotta
That's
be
all I have.
intentional.
Yep.
Thanks so
Be
much.
intentional.
Thank you all. Thank you all. That I think this was a great show. I think it was one of the. I thought the last show was one of our best shows. I don't know. I think this topped it. You guys are awesome. I really appreciate your wisdom, your experience, you being hot, honest, open, and transparent, and just being open to share, what's on your hearts and what's on your minds about marriage, for sickness or in sickness and in health. Actually, next week we're going to do to love and to cherish. So that's going to be the next vow. We're almost done. Um, because after that we have from this day forward until death do us part, so that'll be our final one. So we have 2 more shows in this wedding vow series. Again, I thank you guys. If you are available tomorrow at 8 p.m., I am doing a live Q&A on my Patreon. This will be like an opening introduction to my Patreon. I want to know about the people that are signed up for it. I want you guys to know about me. So I'm going to do a live. It's going to be probably around maybe it's going to be at 8 p.m. Eastern, but maybe like a 30-45 minute little session that I'm doing. So definitely join, sign up if you're interested. The Patreon is a hot community, honest, open, and transparent. We have these conversations all the time. But that's going to be a little bit more of an intimate where you have access to me. We have these conversations. I put up some inspiration, knowledge, wisdom, and things that I have learned, and I'm going to be sharing some wisdom that I have learned along the way, about just being your real self, about being honest with yourself, so you can be real with others. I always say that, right? Be real with yourself, so you can be real with others. And sometimes you don't have an accountability partner to do that with, or sometimes you have too many biased opinions around you where you can't even, detach yourself or start to think differently because you're stuck and your mindset and what you've been thinking and the people you've been around. And so I'm just offering that community for anyone who wants to sign up, men, women, doesn't matter. It is there. So the link is posted to the top of the chat. But I definitely do appreciate everyone who has come this evening. Definitely come back next Monday at 9 p.m. Eastern because we're going to be back at it again. But y'all already know, I always say at the end of my shows, be real with yourself so you can be real with others. You guys have a great evening. Thank you so much. Bye bye.